you have to really understand that nowadays Facebook Marketplace has become a prominent platform when it comes to e-commerce, shipping, e-commerce, let's say a promotion, e-commerce sales in general. So it's really important to understand that you gotta pay attention to the door drop off or pickup. So you're going to be selling on Facebook, right? Facebook Marketplace. But when it comes to shipping, when it comes to drop off, there are a few hacks that you need to be aware of so that you can actually maximize your own experience. And in all safety, safety is really important. So dropping off and picking up items helps you avoid interacting with people directly. Here are the steps I really want you to follow right now if you are selling on Facebook Marketplace. Number one, I want you to plan carefully. So be sure to communicate timing, address, and item placement details ahead of time. So you can consider sharing your meetup plan with a friend or family member or bringing a mobile phone with you, okay? So it's really important to think about planning. Planning is in, and you want to do things way in advance. And please, always inform a family member or a close friend about your whereabouts. You never know, okay? This world is a big place. Anything can happen. And even law enforcement is talking about making sure that you also have, you bring along a mobile phone, and preferably not your primary phone. There are phone numbers that are now like very disposable, so you can use them for, let's say, for business, so that you can preserve your privacy. So number one, I want you to plan carefully. So when we talk about dropping off and picking up items in relationship with Facebook Marketplace, I want you to plan. Think about timing. Think about the address. Think about the item placement. Number two, you want to verify items. So if you are buying an item, make sure that it's what you want before paying for it. Okay, this is really important. This is for buyers, because as a Facebook Marketplace user, you can be a buyer or a seller, right? So when we talk about for high value items, for example, I'm talking about watches, luxury bags, and whatnot. You can request a certificate of authenticity or proof of purchase, right? Because the last thing you want is to be embarking on a scheme of counterfeit items. You don't want that. Number three, you want to clean and disinfect items. Okay, so now I'm talking to you as a seller. If you want to sell on Facebook Marketplace, you want to clean and disinfect any item you intend to sell. If you buy an item, make sure to clean it before bringing it into your home. Make sure to clean it. Okay, it doesn't cost you much, and it'll probably take you 1 hour or 30 minutes depending on the item, but it is really worth it. Number four, you need to use online payment method. Okay, use online payment methods. Don't you try to really cut corners and say, no. Use online payment method. By the way, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Okay, so as I'm walking you through the top 10 hacks for marketplace shipping and receiving on Facebook Marketplace, we're talking about door drop off or pickup. You need to use online payment methods because they're safer. Okay, so consider using digital payment services to request money or pay for your items. So buyers and sellers can offer person-to-person payment methods. Example, PayPal. So if you choose to pay electronically using wire transfer or money order solutions, you want to avoid payment links and you want to log in directly through the payment methods website. Don't you really click on any payment link. Okay, you have a lot of phishing schemes out there. It's just crazy. So keep in mind that cashier and certified checks can be counterfeit. Transactions are between the buyer and seller only, and no third-party guarantee should be involved. So you really want to think about that. The next thing I want you to think about is protecting your privacy. I spoke about this earlier. Law enforcement is just constantly talking about this. You need to protect your privacy, okay? This world is a big world, and Facebook Marketplace is also a big world, okay? Don't share your financial information, for example, your PayPal login and password, your bank account info, with buyers or sellers. If you are selling electronics, make sure you have cleared any personal information from the device. This is really, really important. Don't underestimate this advice, okay? Your privacy is number one. It's just crazy what's really possible nowadays when it comes to e-commerce sales. So the next thing I want you to do here is to compare prices before buying the items. So if you are a buyer and you want to buy on Facebook Marketplace, you want to make sure that you compare prices before buying the item. There are a lot of places, there are a lot of ways to compare items. You have a lot of apps that allow you to compare prices. So use those apps or use those there are websites. There are coupon websites. There are a lot of websites that whereby you can just go and see if what you're buying is actually overpriced or underpriced. The next thing I want you to do right now is to never buy or sell recalled items. This is the biggie here. By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a conversation about Facebook Marketplace door, drop off, or pickup. I'm giving you the top 10 hacks that you need that will help you have a seamless and pleasant shipping and pickup experience as a buyer or a seller for that matter. Okay, so when we talk about recalled items, you need to understand in many places it is illegal to sell recalled items. So if you are unsure whether the item you are buying or selling has been recalled, look on the website of the item's manufacturer for this information. Always do this, okay? And you want to watch out for counterfeit items. This is in a similar vein here. Remember that it is illegal. It is illegal to sell counterfeit items in most countries, and counterfeits are not allowed on Facebook anyway. So it's important that you actually review any items you want to buy to make sure that they are really the real thing. Okay. The next thing I want you to do here is to be cautious when buying or selling cars. Okay, because number one, the amount involved is higher, and chances are you have many possibilities of scam here. Okay, so double check deals that seem too good to be true, because scammers may try to use underpriced items to lure buyers into a scam. So before purchasing a car, you can check places like Kelly Blue Book or other trusted sites to have an idea of what you would expect to pay for a similar car. Okay, you can also try getting a vehicle history report and arranging a car inspection before buying. And if you are a seller, be careful about bouncing checks from buyers or paying for fake transportation or insurance costs for your vehicle. So those are things that I want you to think about, because there are a lot of scammers on Facebook Marketplace that are trying to swindle people out of their hard-earned money, and you don't want to be a sad statistic. You don't want to end up becoming another sad statistic. The last thing I want you to really think about here is to follow best practices. The thing is that when we talk about selling or shipping on Facebook Marketplace, there are some best practices that you need to follow. Now, I'm going to share with you a lot of best practices. Okay, so here are the do's and don'ts of selling or even buying, for that matter, on Facebook Marketplace. So the first thing you need to understand here is that do not be rude. Okay, nobody's trying to really get you on Facebook Marketplace. Don't be rude. You'll find some people who can piss you off from time to time. We are all humans. Okay, this is really important, but you need to understand that you need to have a positive mindset that allows you to stay away from let's say discourtesy. So don't be intentionally rude. If it happens every now and then that somebody pisses you off and you just pissed off and you just talk bad at them, okay, once in a while it's okay, but don't be intentionally rude. The second thing is we want to have a regular, I would say, what we call human etiquette. Don't talk down to women, for example. Okay, I mean, don't assume that you're talking to someone and because of the way they look, of the way they appear to you, you can talk down to them. Don't do this. Okay, don't assume that someone is bad because of their skin color, gender, and whatnot. No, don't assume anything. Okay, it's really important to understand that we're all here in an e-commerce platform and in an e-commerce ecosystem, particularly on Facebook Marketplace of all places. you have more than $1 billion people interacting. It's important to not to assume anything. Okay, don't assume anything, and please speak sensibly, speak politely. So all your interactions should be positive. Remember, you're just there to buy or sell stuff. That's all. You're not trying to engage in a relationship unless that's what you want. But the primary goal here is to either buy whatever you want to buy, or to sell what you have to buy, what you have to sell, right? That's what you should care about. So speak to people sensibly. Okay, speak to when we talk about like Facebook Messenger, when we talk about customer inquiries, speak to people like you. Don't send like nonsense messages and expect responses. No. Again, going back to what I said earlier, etiquette really applies here. Okay, rules of basic human etiquette apply always on Facebook Marketplace and on other places anyway. Okay. The next thing I want you to do here is to actually always be honest and transparent, whether you were buying or selling. By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're still having a conversation about Facebook Marketplace door drop off or pickup. And the thing is that when you are actually let's say when you're setting the time, the address, and the mode of a drop off or pickup, be honest and transparent. Okay, if you're selling, be honest and transparent. It's not about just like trying to play games on people. No. Okay, don't try to play games, and don't actually expect somebody to play games on you. We should try. You should try to do your best to be transparent. When we talk about honesty, we're talking about if you agree with the buyer or seller on something, just keep your word. Okay, and one thing is that's very important also is that trying to be smart when it comes to negotiating. It's really important to understand, again, going back to what I said about the rules of human etiquette. Negotiation is a two-way thing, and don't assume anything. Remember, the buyer or seller is also there to actually add value. The buyer is there to find something that he or she can buy for a reasonable price, and the seller trying to make money. So everybody should be there everybody should get into this whole thing with a positive mindset. For example, if you have to negotiate the drop off or the pickup time, make sure that you put all your cards on the table so that both parties understand what's really at stake here. This is really important, okay? And also one thing I want to say here is that don't ask the seller to counter their own price. Let's say and this goes back to what I said about negotiating. So if you are a buyer and the seller gives you a price, and the seller gives you a drop-off location, the seller gives you a pickup location, try to put yourself in their shoes and see how you can actually come with a win-win situation, with a win-win offer. You always want to think about win-win. That way, you're thinking about the seller's or the buyer's interest and your chances of landing a good deal are higher when you think that way. When you empathize, okay, empathy really will get you really really far on Facebook Marketplace. Another thing I want to tell you, Harry, is to actually like if you are actually let's say you have agreed to a price, or you have agreed to a location, you have agreed to a time, to a pickup time. Don't change things at the last minute. It's really important to understand that all communications on Facebook Marketplace happen online, but things like the final delivery will happen offline, will happen in real life. Okay, so because of that, there has to be an element of trust. So your word must mean something. Your word must be your bond. See, when you agree to something, when you have made offers, don't try to change your offer at the last minute when you see the person like live. Okay, and don't try to undercut others also. No, to understand that sometimes it's just very important to understand that there's something called karma, whether you believe it or not. But in this life, If somebody actually agrees to you on a price or on the location, honor your word and don't try to change things. Don't try to completely undercut them. Okay? Don't try to come out of a deal as a winner, quote unquote winner, when the other person believes that they were a loser. You're not going to go far on Facebook Marketplace or in life with this attitude. Okay? And you want to respond to messages. You want to respond to all kinds of communication, all kinds of inquiries. Okay? Especially on drop-off day or pick-up day, communication is really important because the last thing you want is the buyer or seller to actually be stranded somewhere, and you just like you never show up at the rendezvous. Like you agree on you schedule a rendezvous, and the last minute you just don't show up and you don't communicate. You just vanish. Don't go AWOL on people, because remember, the way you treat folks on Facebook Marketplace, this is how people will treat you also one day, right? So don't do unto others what you don't want people to do to you. So, and this rule, this ancestral rule, applies here as well. Okay, very important. So you want to respond. If somebody messages you, you always respond. Always. And one thing you also need to understand here is that when we talk about Facebook Marketplace and the fact that you are able in relation to Facebook Marketplace door drop off or pickup, you want to communicate. Okay, communicate means what? It means that you are consistent. It means that you are actually like responding right away or responding within a reasonable time. Okay, and you are trying to make sure that you are actually like you have to be reasonable in terms of communication. What I'm trying to say here is that don't try to message somebody 1,000 times. It doesn't matter especially because Facebook has this feature where when you actually send a message to someone, you can see if they're seen it or if they have seen it or not. So if you see that somebody has seen your message, you don't need to actually bombard them 1,000 times with other messages. Okay, it's not really important. And also, one thing I want to say here is when we talk about, once you have scheduled a door drop off or pickup, and you know that you have actually sold an item, here I'm speaking to you as a seller, you want to update your listings. Don't keep a listing there if you know that the product is no longer available. It's not fair to other prospective buyers who are interested in the product. So as soon as you actually agree on a sale, and the buyer has actually wired the money to you or has a transfer of the cash to you via PayPal or other electronic forms, you want to update your listings so that you basically are not showing this item anymore available. This is important now. You can actually do this right away, or you can do this maybe 1 or 2 days after the sale has closed. It really depends on your policy, and it depends on how consistent you want to be in your policies. It also depends on how trustworthy the buyer is, at least from your point of view, right? If somebody has agreed to buy something and for the last 2 or 3 days they have not wired the money to you, even though they agreed to wire the money to you like on the same day, then you can say, you know what, this is a little fishy. You never know. Maybe they will actually back out of the deal altogether, and you'll be left over holding the bag. So you don't want that anyway. Okay, so that's really the last thing you want. You really don't want to have to hold the bag. So very important. One thing I also want to say here is that you can actually be clear in your communication. You want to list your general location. Don't ask stupid questions. Don't expect the seller to simply hold an item for you because you can't get it right away. Okay, if you want to hold, as a buyer here, if you want to hold, you want to pay. You as a seller, if a buyer is asking you to drop off or pick up an item, and they just talking and talking and talking, it's all about talking and no cash. If you don't see cash, don't actually commit to anything. Okay, it's really important. And also, you want to price honestly. We're talking about making sure that you have you need to have a strategy where you are having honest prices. It should be transparency, right? Transparency should be really important. I'm not talking about like always be overly transparent in your pricing, but at least make sure that you're pricing honestly. You tell the buyer why you are pricing your product at this level. Okay, don't be stingy. Don't be stingy at all. Okay, if you want to give a free shipping, like if you are actually you can tell the buyer, hey, listen, I'm not going to charge you for the drop off or because blah 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 blah. So it's important. And when we talk about also a drop off or pickup, make sure that you are taking the time to add several photos about the product and also show several photos of the location address so that the buyer knows exactly what to expect. Okay, it's really important. It's all about what I just said. You want to build an environment and an ecosystem of transparency, of trust. Remember, you're thinking that this is a first time customer, but you never know. You never know, right? So, because if the first experience was positive, this customer can become a lifelong customer, especially if you are selling everyday items and it's the kind of item that people buy and buy and buy and buy. Why not? People are thinking that on Facebook Marketplace, you're only selling like stuff in your house that you're trying to declutter. This is not only that. People actually, there's something called retail arbitrage, where basically you buy discounted, like heavily discounted items in local stores, in local brick and mortar stores, and you just sell them online, including on Facebook Marketplace. So if you have such a business model, you're going to have a consistent stream of new products. So please remember, one-time customers can change into loyal customers, lifelong customers. So treat every opportunity, treat every sale as the next one. Treat every sale with the next one in mind. Very, very important. All right, thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about Facebook Marketplace door drop off or pickup, and I'll just share with you the top 10 hacks that will help you have a seamless experience. Okay, so number one, plan carefully. Number two, verify items. Number three, clean and disinfect items. Number four, use online payment methods. Number five, protect your privacy. Number six, you want to compare prices before buying items. Number seven, don't buy or sell recalled items. Number eight, watch out for counterfeit items. Number nine, be cautious when buying or selling cars. And number 10, follow best practices. Thank you so much. I'll speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.